The matter has eventually kicked off without rancor. You needed to have been in court to observe the proceedings. All the parties cooperated, and PW1 testified. PW1 is Mr. AAA, as he was designated. He investigated the matter 10 years ago, and today he came and gave his evidence and tendered documents.
The government is finally having the trial that it desires. Our position still remains unchanged despite the ongoing trial.
You have been on this case right from Justice Bintan Yako just for this to comment. So how do you feel today and how will you react?
That's exactly the reason why we have to say something in addition to what the SAN has said. These gentlemen here, these lawyers standing with me here, are members of the old guard. We have been there from the get-go, so we know the nitty-gritty of this case. Well, what I can add is we are finally here. The government is finally having the trial that it desires. Our position still remains unchanged despite the ongoing trial. That our client is innocent of the charges, that the case is driven by political considerations, and in the end, the innocence of our client will be established. So we take it from here to 2nd May when we are going to subject the government witness who testified today. We are going to submit him to or subject him to cross-examination, and then the truth shall begin to be revealed.
Heading up to NNAMDI KANU's case in Federal High Court on April 29, 2025, Mazen NNAMDI KANU, leader of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, appeared at the Federal High Court in Abuja as his trial resumed under Justice James Omotosho. So here are all you need to know about NNAMDI KANU's outing as of 29th April 2025. The first one is legal representation. KANU was accompanied by a formidable defense team comprising 6 senior advocates of Nigeria SANs, led by former Attorney General of the Federation Chief KANU Agabi. Other members including Prof. Onyechi Ibazo, Emeka Etiaba, Mela Audu, Dr. Joseph Akubo, and Uchenna Njoko. Secondly, court approves witness protection measures. The court granted the federal government's request to shield the identities of prosecution witnesses. Witnesses are permitted to testify behind screens with their real names replaced by acronyms, citing security concerns. KANU defense did not oppose this application. 3 is testimony from DSS officer. The prosecution presented its first witness, identified as PWAAA, an 18-year veteran of the Department of State Services, DSS. He recounted leading the team that arrested KANU on October 14, 2015 at the Golden Tulip Hotel in Lagos. The witness described the room as resembling a broadcasting studio with various equipment seized and later presented as evidence. A recorded interrogation of KANU was played in court, wherein he acknowledged establishing Radio Biafra and discussed his motivation for advocating Biafra independence. Number 4, charge and plea. KANU faces a 7-count charges, including terrorism and reasonable felony. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Number 5, IPOB's response. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, condemned the resumption of KANU's trial, labeling it a violation of both Nigeria and international legal standards. They called for his immediate and unconditional release, urging the international community and human rights organizations to intervene. All right, I just have a few things to say about this whole thing. I think to everyone, in as much as you are living in Nigeria and you know about this case, it's more like tiring, considering how complex it has, become and everything. And that complexity is what I believe that it's actually coming from people that are supposed to do something about it and they are not. Of course, when it comes to a case like this, it is of contemptuous, trying to dive into the judicial matter as such. But then it is also very important to look up to something that is higher than the court proceedings and everything. Imagine when you hear about the solution, a political solution that can actually waive all these world stresses and everything, the killings and kidnapping, everything that is going on in the name of you keeping this man. When you look at something like that, you ask yourself, like, of what use is keeping him if it is actually resulting to something like that? A lot of people have actually used because of this one in going into some sort of crimes and everything. So what am I saying? So it's alarming, and it is something we should actually look into outside judicial processes. Of course, judicial processes is actually one of the best, but it delays. You understand? It delays, just like what we've seen. It's actually good that the federal government have decided in the fate of NNAMDI KANU to actually continue his trial. Let's just say that the trial just kicked off, and that is the way coming. But then, would that solve the problem we are talking about? That is the question. And if the answer is no, that draws us back to the issue of political solution. I don't know why I believe strongly in this political solution. Like, it's more like what I see as the only thing that will work for this very case. I see that something that judicial processes or proceedings would not solve. I am seeing it like that, because let's just assume that by peradventure NNAMDI KANU is assumed to be guilty and everything that is surrounding it. Would you think that the followers, or let's just say Igbo people, would actually accept to him going to jail or to serve in jail and all that? Or let's just assume the other way around, that the federal government lost the case. Do you think they are going to just succumb to that? Do you think they are going to obey the court orders? So, and this is why I see it as, like, why I see what they are doing now as it's just a romance within the root truth. Because if they can actually come out within themselves to say, this is what that will be done, and all this whole thing will, just go off, just like the issue of preferring a political solution. And that has always been my stand. If NNAMDI KANU goes to jail, a lot of people will not agree to it, and it's going to erupt more crisis. This is what people don't. It's not like they know. It's not as if they don't believe. They know it and they believe it, but they don't see it as detrimental the way some people are seeing it. And it is really, really important that we should figure all these things out. Or let's assume that, like I said, that the federal government loses the case. Do you think they would succumb to, allowing the courts to order whatever they want to order, probably for his release and everything? Do you think it's going to be possible? So this is the problem. This is a pure political issue that has no room in judiciary. It shouldn't have any room in judiciary in the first place. It shouldn't. Somebody said that whatever that NNAMDI KANU is actually passing through today is just a political delay. It's just a political delay. And to me, I think there is sense to that. You understand? It's happening. It's just occurring to me as a delay, wasting of time. Just like Shiwere said, it's just a waste of time. You understand? So the issue should have been best resolved politically. And also, when you point out the area where a lot of Igbos, cry out about marginalization and everything, how are you going to sort all those things? Because these are the basis of his, agitation, and this is what he has actually, hinted on. What have you done about it? Are you actually, heading up to do something about it or not? Because when you try to treat the wound, you don't just find something and mix chemical and pour on top. You give some drugs that will work underground to get to the root of the pain, where the pain comes from. You understand? Not the external part. So you work under it, you do something under it, then you also do something outside the wound. That is when you have the complete treatment. You understand? So if you want to treat malaria, you don't just mix one dosage. Then you'll be like, you are free. Probably the fever goes and everything. Feel like you're okay and everything. So I believe that if the federal government should just, talk about this, it should have a roundtable with NNAMDI KANU. Because what that brought NNAMDI KANU has nothing to do with judiciary. It is purely political, and it should be treated as such. And how would this be solved? He mentioned a lot of things. He mentioned marginalization. He mentioned seaports that's not working in Igbo land that should be working. He mentioned some federal roads that is ought to be working, that is not working. He mentioned some projects, some building project that should be available within the zone that is not available. He mentioned the healthcare system. He mentions the substandard educational project that is out there that nobody's talking about. Just those things. Could this be, justified in the court of law? Would this be, treated? Would this be managed? Would this be controlled? Would this be sorted out within the court of law? The answer is no. So what is the best thing? Have a round table with this man. You understand? Discuss with him. This is the way we're going to do it. It's not a must that I'm not saying that the federal government should do everything. It's not possible, of course. But at least you started one step, after the other. And with this, we will not see the need that, oh, this is really working. And Igbo people will be like, oh, this is the reason we should actually stay. When you talk about self-determination, it is enshrined in international, most of the countries that Nigeria is signatory to when it comes to international laws. And this is what you can never shy away with. So it is really, really possible that we look into the issue of NNAMDI KANU politically instead of judicially, because we end up wasting the time. And when we waste the time, it's still not going to solve anything. Just like 5 years now, we'll be having trial. Now we are having it that we're having the, I don't know we've not had any trial since 5 years now or not, but I don't know. So it's happening that we are just starting for today. So it's kind of very funny how things are turning out to the federal government. Please, the matter is in the court, good, fine and good. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know much about how cases that are in court are being taken, the processes and everything. I don't know. But if this case should be looked into, this is a case of pure political resolution. It is as simple as that. KANU should be, called for a round table. Have a discussion. I believe if not for that, 5 years in detention, it's something else. If he had this, the eager to, trigger the agitation and everything, if actually he's fighting for his people, it's not the best time to be like, to succumb to having a political roundtable with the political leaders. They should come in a roundtable and discuss. Let's discuss the issue, because if it is actually the issue that is affecting the Igbo people themselves, not personally KANU, he should be eager enough to, go into the roundtable to discuss with him. It is as simple as that. And this is what I advocate for, because Nigeria will talk about if he should be better. Whatever you do to A, you should do that to B. Whatever you do to B, you should do that to A. Let's have a community that will accommodate us. We've actually, run around the whole issue. We've danced around it. We've talked about it. And of course, we are going to agree and disagree. But at last, please, for us to sustain Nigeria, let's call it democracy. Thank you for watching.